Shanokar ji and Sanjeev Doshi ji and Dr. Bhandari ji. So first we will take up these questions. Later on, if any question is coming in the chat box, we will take up that. After that, we will take the oral questions from the audience. Thank you. So let us, I request Dr. Pratap Sanchetee to deliver your lecture, please.
Thank you, Anilji, for the nice introduction. Let me just share the slides. Yeah, just I'm trying the full view. Now full view is coming.
No.
Now it's coming at my laptop.
Yes, now it is coming. Now, yes.
Now just confirm, is it changing or not?
Yes.
Changing, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
then. So let me start. Thanks everyone for joining the today's lecture, which has been arranged by the Jain Academy of Scholars and given us the opportunity to delve into one of the intricacies of the nature, that is the mind. The trio of soul, mind, and body has been a matter of research both in science and the philosophy. As per current capabilities, science has explored the body in great detail, but has not touched nearer to the soul. In my opinion, mind and the brain are the area where is a fertile land where science and philosophy can play together to come to a greater conclusion. Now, today's RTM or the lecture has been placed for that one only because the big menu has been prescribed by Dr. Anil Jain. So my lecture will be a shorter one and your participation will be a bigger one. Now to introduce, mind is an excellent creation of the nature, restored to all lives, animal kingdom, including human beings. All philosophies, including Jain Darshan, qualifies that it has no conventional. Science also says it is formless, weightless, and no conventional structure. That is where the total agreement is there. And after that, the disagreement starts. There are several disciplines in the perspective which I'm looking at. It influences all our karmas, be it mental, vocal, or the physical. While philosophy, particularly the Jain philosophy, put soul, mind, and body in the different platforms. Science put it as a continuum. I'll try to put that one, but that doesn't negate the philosophy or the doctrine which has been given by the Jain philosophy. Jainism as put them in the different platforms. The mind or manas, which is also called manas, is understood as a subtle but immensely powerful. Both science also says the same thing, through which the soul, not recognized by the science, Jiva engages with the all living beings, to the other people, and even to the immaterial world also. And the mind, as per the Jainism, divided into the two, physical and the mental, also known as psychic. Psychic is in continuum with the soul. Now, as we will see in the subsequent lecture, the physical and the mental classification fits into the conscious and the unconscious brain. We will see later how. It's brief about the scientific perspective of the brain. While philosophy speaks in the language of consciousness, restraint, and the awareness, science speaks in terms of the neural network, regulations, and the plasticity. Though the vocabulary differs, but surprisingly, the conclusions are the constant and the same. Science views the mind, brain, and the body not as a separate entity, but as a continuum. We will try to see that one. Working in seamless coordination. Within this framework, Mind is often conceptualized as an extension of the brain, both structurally and the functionally. To qualify the mind, it's a set of functions, not a structure as we just mentioned. It works on the EM, electromagnetic waves. That is the basic of the whole understanding, and perhaps philosophy also agrees to that one. Now, within this, it's a set of functions works on the electromagnetic, and it is further established that all these work, whether the brain, body, and the mind or the soul, they work in the tandem, ultra fast, self-correcting, and mostly faultless. That is importance of the brain, which has been given, mind and the brain given to us by the nature. It's purely a subjective and personal or the private phenomenon. Others can just gauge that how my mind is working. I can't explain you and you can't find out, but it is through my non-verbal expressions, by the body movements, facial gestures, and even science can gauge it through the motor actions, speech, facial and body gestures, and also appreciate through the biochemical changes, hormonal changes, EEG or electrophysiological, and fMRI. Now, before I go further, a simple question. Is the mind is an individual entity for a person, or it's a part of the global or the collective mind? And what are the harms and the bad effects of the collective mind or the collective psyche? You all know about the jihad, which is a culmination of the collective psyche. Similarly, a big hooting in the cricket or in any games, enjoying it also is a collective mind and collective psyche. So let us explore, not now, but sometimes later, we are part of the global or collective mind. The mind has been, though it's a single unit, for the sake of understanding, it has been divided into the two. Conscious mind or the Chetan mind is 5 to 10%, and the remaining 90 to 95% is the unconscious mind. We will try to see in the brief. But important point is that brain cannot live without Chit or the mind or the manas. Without Chit or the mind, brain is dead. That is one of the important conclusions which is there. And equally important conclusion that no thought or action is possible without the brain. Even mind is active, but if the brain is not active, no thought, actions, or the emotions are possible. So let us just know about the briefly the Chetan one or the conscious mind. It encompasses variety of states such as perception, thinking, planning, dreaming, short-term memories, and the cognitions. Importance of this one is it doesn't accept all the sensory inputs which comes to our body or from the environment. It selectively filters and analyzes those. Because if it start taking all the stimuli which are there in the environment or around us, there will be a chaos. We won't be able to find out anything. So coming to the second, the mystery of the unconscious. That is the basic conscious mind. Perhaps science is near exploring it. It is Avchetan mind or the unconscious mind. This model scientifically has been divided into the two. Unconscious mind, subconscious and the unconscious. Subconscious mind is the one. It's a layer which is adjacent to the conscious mind. And it has been seen that the portion of this one can be put into the conscious mind through the efforts or the training. But it is only for a brief period. Otherwise, it again goes back into the subconscious state. What is the percentage of these two, subconscious and subconscious? Science is not evolved yet. It functions with a remarkable speed. I'm talking about subconscious mind. And efficiency, storing both short-term and the long-term memory. learned behavior, learned perceptions, accumulated experiences. Here, incoming information is organized and associated with emotions, belief, and patterns, which we have already learned. This layer also decides involuntary body activity like creativity, imaginations, intuition, beliefs. So there are so many. I'm just naming few of the important ones. If you talk about the unconscious mind, which is the deepest layer, it is the one which is like a hard disk in the laptop or the computer. It is not visible outside. And unless a person comes and opens it up, we can't see the even hard disk also. But what is there inside, we cannot measure it. So same thing is here. Unconscious mind, it's a totally away from the conscious effort. It governs involuntary body movements, primal instinct. We will talk about this later on. Repressed memories or suppressed memories, creativity, intuition, imagination, and deeply belief. Your beliefs which are cannot be washed out. Those are the ones they are complex activity, such as face recognition, situation analysis, error detection, thinking, attention, perception, reading. So many, the list is, and I will be just cutting short here. But these are the functions which comes. So here comes your face reading or the what we are talking is the third brain or the eye, third eye, and other things. They all are part of the conscious mind. That is the beauty of the whole show. If we go through this one, the next is I've taken, though today my topic is not on the brain, but it is just to tell you that ancient, मेरे दिल में दर्द है, मेरा दिल क्या सोच रहा है. These were the words we all are familiar with. So heart was taken as a seat of intelligence, but it's not so. Either they were incorrect or they were just philosophical in their interpretations. But two important points I wish to point out. The neurons, number of neurons are approximately 100 billion. Huge number. But if you put them in a series, its length is more than 1,000 kilometers. And each making 2,500 to 25,000 connections. So it's not a single neuron. Each neuron makes, in the newborn or the infancy, it's a 2,500. At the peak of our adolescence, it's around 25,000. But not simple. Frontal neurons may be having a different connections. But if you take total synapses or the connections, innumerable numbers, 10 raised to 50. So that is the one beauty or the things which are the brain. And the another beauty is that the total blood which comes out of the heart, 20%, 15 to 20%, 1/5 goes to the brain. And so also the oxygen which is there. So though it's a organ of 1,300 to 400 grams, it consumes approximately 20% of the resources of the body. That is the one, it means the importance of the brain is not minimal. But what question comes to my mind is this 20% figure includes the activity of the mind also? Because that also works on the blood flow and the oxygen. It will get energy from that only. But whether, so I'm not very comfortable in answering right now. Before I go further, a simple question. Are animals being supplied or having the mind? We will see it in the evolution also, but science believes that all animals have some form of mental life, which is commensurate with their brain structure. That is the one. It's because their brain is limited, so the mind for them is also limited. So the definition of mind for the animals have to be changed from the highest developed in the human being. So that's the one, a question which is a big one and not to be answered today, but it should be kept in mind that the animals also have got the mind, and which may not be agreed by the philosophy. The importance of the mind training comes from the plasticity which has been observed in the brain. And what is the plasticity says? That it is a changing circumstances, both because of the loss of the neurons or new demands in the body. Suppose I want to learn the road today. I want to learn the engineering today. My plasticity will make the neurons to work in that direction. And these changes can occur throughout one's life and not limited to my early childhood, which was earlier belief. It occurs throughout the life. Even at the age of, say, 40, if my brain is knocked down by some injury or the surgery, it also compensates partly, may not be fully. And what important is, not only the neurons get improved or the plasticity, it in the supporting elements like glia or the vascular cells. So these are the points which are very important to know. This I was saying that the evolution of the mind and brain says that the mind perhaps was there in the earliest life, which was there 3.5 to 4 billion years ago. Minimal form of information processing. That was the earliest mind which was there. Later on, as the brain developed, complex functions were added, and all vertebrates and few invertebrates have the brain. So they perhaps have some functions of the mind. But modern human, the main important or the things which are present mind, which way complex mind we are talking today, is approximately 300,000 or the 2000 years ago, when neocortex started appearing in the body. Neocortex, which not today, but we will talk sometimes. And what are the factors which decide the development of the mind? Are the intelligence, social cultural factors, dietary factors, environmental factors, the psychological factors, society. So there's so many factors which decide the development of the mind. Why the development we are talking is that it's not we are not born with a full-blown mind. But the mind development starts even in the utero or in the womb. And in the womb, it is affected by the maternal nutrition, maternal health, maternal stress, and so many factors which are there, which they're there inside the mother's womb. But later on, as the demand and the brain progresses, sensory motor stages, particularly at the rapid development occurs in the first 2 to 7 years. For first 2 years, I thought main one is where things occur and basic interaction. Reptilian brain, it comes in the progress here. And same also the reptilian mind also comes here. From 2 to 7 years, or little later, up to 10 years or 12 years, mammalian brains, which is mainly concerned with the mammutwa, mammalian mammutwa. Limbic brain, it comes into the action, where emotions and the social levels are added, logical reasoning. As the child or baby's child becomes bigger, abstract ideas, social and the cultural things come into action. Later on, when adolescent period comes, after 10 or 12 years, psychological and physiological changes appear. In the brain, I'm not talking on the body. And this changes continues to occur even in the later life also. It doesn't stop here. But changes are little on the slower. And sometimes or many times, these functions, they regress rather than progress. Now, what are the variables which decide the development of the brain? These are there are many variables. I have selected few: beliefs, primal drive, ego, mind wandering, multitasking, emotions, and the passion. I'll be taking few of them. Belief. We have got my fixed beliefs are different from yours. And that's for every one of us. But beliefs are basically for our survival, safety, and security need. They are of the 4 types. The earliest belief which comes is the instinct. They are genetically determined and specific in the animals. So belief or the instinct which is there in the dog is different, in the lion is different, and in the human beings they are different. We are aware of the external instinct, but there are huge number and the huge scope of the internal instinct, which sometimes we call it as my gut feeling. Sometimes we say, मेरे को कहा गया था कि मैं यहाँ नहीं जाना. And this is basically for your security and the survival reasons. We usually say it is pre-reptilian or the genetics one. So these are usually comes from our genes. Second is unconscious beliefs. Like we know a small baby doesn't recognize the fire or the heat. But once it touches, he learns it. That is the learn while reptilian mind is developing in utero and the first 2 years. Subconscious beliefs, they are emotional learning, which I talked earlier. And here the person comes and recognizes his emotions, expresses his emotions like happiness, fear, anger, or sadness. Later on, as the neocortex is added, the mantle of the neocortex over the mammalian brain comes. We learn with the neocortex. That is where abstract thinking, cognitions, consciousness, all these things, they come here. And this continues up to the 24 years and then later on also. Sorry. Now I come to the next, primal drive. The primal drive is what? Is basically your survival functions, which is there in all life, including the human being. And that is perhaps sometimes science says the characteristic of the life. And primal drives are hunger, that means you need food for your metabolism and the energy. Fear, for your security. Reproduction, for propagation and sustaining of your species. And possession is the one which has been lately added. Now, and what are the various passion or the constipation which modify these primal drives? Are anger, pride, deceit, greed, fear, and sexual activities, relish or रस जो हम बात करते हैं. But these primal drives are not the fixed one. They can be modified, they can be controlled. That's the important point. That with training, we can control them. And how we can control? By my own emotions and my social circumstances. And the third is rust, which decides if I rust is not the food only. It is rust in every activity of the human being, every perception of the human being. Whether I'm talking about the touch, I'm talking about the vision or the olfaction, scent मेरे को ये पसंद है. Rust is the one which decides my primal drive. And it is controlled by the mind, either through instructions, involuntary or the voluntary way. So this is what we are talking about, the primal drive. Third is the important one is the ego. Ego represents the organized sense of individuality through which the mind interprets experiences and the regular emotions, passion, and the feelings. It develops progressively through the interaction with parents, family members, friends. We call it peer pressure. Educational institutes, major learning is there. Peer pressure may come from there. Community, religion, there are, again, I'm saying I've just given the main one only. And what ego decides, it decides my nature of it, my emotions, passion, and the feeling. Now, if we can control it, then we can come to a better footing rather than going into the animal footing. So it is journeys from the animal to the human being. And what differs in that one is the neocortex. So what are the functions of the neocortex? We have to put it in our brain or the mind. That these are to be, say, कहते हैं मेरी और आपकी लड़ाई neocortex पे होनी चाहिए. not on the muscles or the vision or the hearing. So this is on the neocortex, which is the cognition and other things. So a talk of the mind, today I can't take it, but will be incomplete without considering the neocortex, which is the adjacent of our mind. Now we come to the mind wandering. Another important point is a subject which is both philosophy and the science is equally worried about it. Science has just evaluated or thought that of about 1/3 of or half of our awake time goes into mind wandering. And what is the mind wandering? I keep on shifting my thoughts, which are unrelated to my task or my aim. I keep on this one. And average person, it says, is blessed or the cursed with the 60,000 thoughts per day. So they keep on changing our mind. But what science says, it is the default mode network, we call it DMN. It is involved in the mind wandering. The higher activity of the default mode network, higher mind wandering. And it can be controlled with the prefrontal lobe, which can suppress this DMN. That is, the science has come into that one and say it puts you in the daydreaming and the wide imagination. Another point is the multitasking. We all are now plagued with that. Doing 2 or more tasks at one time with repeated switching and not taking any rest to the mind or the brain in between. So we can keep on changing and continuing this. And if we take into our language, it is just opposite of the meditation, which tells you to focus on single object, concentration meditation, single object or the single thought or the single activity. So out of the 5 senses, you come to the 1 senses. And it has been seen that the people who are highly engaged in the multitasking, they have lower IQ, lower attention span, memory retention, productivity, and efficiency. Even the fMRI shown that the gray matter, the main thinking or the thought process or the thought presentation of the brain also gets smaller. So multitasking doesn't help you. It helps you in the short term, but in long term, it's not a good. The term may not be very palatable, tame or control. Can we control or tame? Like if you have a pet dog and the wild dog. So you can have, it's a hot topic, both for the science and philosophy. But for science, it is still in infancy. Philosophy has provided many models. They are very good models, excellent models, but somehow they are not penetrated in the general. Even we know we have not accepted it. Science is handling this problem of the controlling mind in easy to understand and follow up languages with the strong facts. That's the beauty of the science, which is supplementing to the philosophy. And what are the ways we can think? One is the meditation, which conventionally has been translated into the biofeedback method. So whatever you achieve in the meditation, you put it as your target and train your mind in that way. What we are right now is we are with the random thoughts. Perhaps since we are part of this lecture, we may be having a non-meditative focus. So that is where most of us switch between the two. But what meditation tells you, or meditative living, it's not a meditation, it's the meditative living. It's the 2 portions. The first one is the dhyan, dharana, contemplation, or the concentration is one of the important. What FA is focus attention, which was their non-focus attention, it's a focus attention. And once you do that one, it can be either on the sensory perception, like I say, I'm just will have the reason only as my thought, a word, mantra or prayers, object, breath or light or sound, ignoring all other stimuli. So I put it, the concentration meditation is from the five senses come to the one. That is the way, the beauty of the concentration. And with this, you can, particularly the mind wandering and the multitasking, you can reduce it. But the next stage of the concentration is the mindfulness, where you focus inward or you perceive everything with non-judging attention, non-directive attention, with no thought of space, time. So that is the beauty of the mindfulness. And in the simple word, this is the meditation. We need not to complicate it. Another is the be spiritual, maybe religious spirituality or non-religious spirituality. How? It can act on the three levels: personal level, social level, and the global levels. Personal level, by a sattvic diet, self-disciplined, mentally alert, be peaceful, and develop consciousness to a higher stage. Sometimes we may call it as in a different religious language, but this is a higher stage of your development, mental development. And socially, it teaches us to be in harmony with all living through the features of the non-violence, tolerance, forgiveness, and appreciation. There are so many sermons are there. And global level, it's not a spirituality is not only at a so the global mind or the collective mind, which was I was mentioning, even there also it helps. Practice of coexistence, not harming the neighbor. But that's what the famous prayer, I'm not remembering exactly. Love the neighbor as you yourself. So that's thy neighbor or something like that one was there. Now there are supportive practices. These are the specific practices. Be happy. That is one of the. If you are in a sedative or sadistic or sad state of mind, negative state of mind, it brings you on the other side of the body. So be happy, and always the common phrase laughter is the best medicine. Being friendly to the nature, that is one of the important forces. Our Jainism is very brilliantly touching this one. Sattvic diet, adequate sleep, but importance perhaps in our religion we have not touched that much, being physically active. That portion has not, I'm not saying they are negating it. It has not been stressed. And being spiritual. Just ahimsa, aparigraha, satya, forgiveness and restraint. And there are so many mental states which can be there, can be support in development of our mind. Now coming to my close of my talk, some unanswered questions which will be there in your mind, or perhaps you will be adding more for me today. All animals have some form of life, I have told you. But how animal, including the human being, highest one, with the highest development of the mind, acquires this marvelous entity? How we have developed from a structural brain. We have come to the development of the structural brain from how it is converted into the mind. Now, can brain think? Can brain store the memory or the emotions? Or it is just the instrument of the whole show? One important question: are the mind and matter connected by meaning? Means are they interrelated or they are independent? Matter which is non-living, is the mind related to it or it is in the different platform? I already talked about the collective or the global mind. What are the bad influences? I have already said. Extrasensory perceptions, the face reading, the intuition, certain beliefs, how they are coming and how they are generated. Dr. Bhandari has asked some of the questions I will be taking later on, and how genes are there. But not only the transplant of the mind or mechanism, is not mind is not a structure, so it cannot be. So can this mechanism be transferred? What will happen to my mind after my death? And how will I acquire a mind at my birth? That's it. And can it physically be done? These are the questions which are there. So to sum up, I say mind can be a great friend or it can be a great enemy also. Science is actively investigating the structure and functions of the brain and extending it to the mind. Mind now stands at a crossroad of bondage and liberations. Jain philosophy offers a profound, value-driven framework for understanding its intricacy and refining it, while modern science is providing a complementary observations that illuminate its function. So these are the few thoughts. I have not been able to cover everything. I'm sorry for that one, but I have cut down with the menu which Dr. Anil Jain has prescribed, and giving more time to the discussion and learn from you all. After
Thank you
that,
very much, Dr. Saab.
After the opening remark of the Dr. Jain, I will be taking the questions which have come to me. Yes, sir.
Dr. Sanchetee, very interesting talk. And in fact, we will conduct a RTM roundtable discussions later on, sometimes in May, June. And we will discuss many more questions, whatever you have mentioned, unanswered questions in that. And we will specify some of the topics so that people can take from that. So with this note, I will request you to please, Udaji is there, Uday Navkar.
Yeah, I have